A biblical perspective on life, culture and current events. This is 2020 on Vision.
Well, on a Monday, we like to check in on the week's political agenda with the Australian Christian Lobby. Joshua Rowe is the ACL State Director for New South Wales and for the ACT. Hey, Josh, a special welcome back to 2020.
Wonderful to be back. Thanks, Neil.
Joshua, before we get on to this new resource that every Christian listener will benefit from as they understand the sorts of things you're trying to do with the ACL, alerting Christian believers about what's coming with the election, where the parties stand, where the candidates sit. Let's talk just briefly before we get into that about the New South Wales Greens abortion bill. Give us an update on what things are happening there.
Yeah, so the Greens abortion bill was introduced into Parliament last month in March by an upper house member. Amanda Cone is her name. She's one of three upper house Greens members in the New South Wales Parliament. The bill itself seeks to expand access to abortion in New South Wales. Now, abortion is available right up until birth in New South Wales. So there is that question of, well, what does expanding access even mean? Well, they're talking here about geographical availability, and there's a number of levers that the Greens want to pull in order to make abortion more prominent within the state of New South Wales. Now, one of those things is to give the New South Wales Health Minister directive powers over public health institutions to actually have to provide abortion. Now, we have real concerns about that because some Catholic hospitals are under that characterisation, but also you've got a lot of conscientious objectors or people of faith on public hospital boards who are going to be actually forced to transgress their conscience in that way. Another thing that we're concerned about is the attack on individual clinician conscience. So previously, you would have to, if a woman comes seeking an abortion and you're a conscientious objector, you make that known to them that you object to being any part of the process, and then you refer them to a health line, a New South Wales health line that will enable them to find the service that they want or need. However, now this particular bill is putting the onus on the clinician to actually have to go out and seek out abortionists within the community and directly refer that woman on to the abortionist. So they're becoming complicit in that process. And I've heard from doctors already who have said if they were forced to do this under the law, they'd have to leave the profession. Now, for a New South Wales health budget and resourcing that is already stretched, especially in the regions, New South Wales Health do not want healthcare workers like this leaving the profession. So there's a number of concerns that we have there around the bill now.
You know, just to draw attention to the significance of this, because we'll know that you've got state-run hospitals and you'll know that you've got Christian-founded hospitals. And what you're saying here is that the Greens want the health minister to be able to direct all hospitals, whether they be state-run or Christian-run, to provide abortions. And you even singled out those that are Catholic-run hospitals. And, of course, it's just one of those things that flies in the face, goes against the grain of where Christians are at and the way we think of life. So that sort of power for the health minister to direct that would be, I don't know, what sort of reaction are you getting when you're talking about these things? Are people a bit blasé about this, or are there those getting a little bit angry about it?
I think people are getting frustrated now. There's this continual overstep from, state politicians suggesting that, they should have this control over conscience, but people do want the freedom to believe what they believe and to be able to espouse that, and also to operate, within a profession like the medical profession in alignment with their ethical and moral convictions. We saw around the time of Calvary Hospital in ACT, where the state actually took over Calvary Hospital, which was a Catholic institution, because they wanted the provision of abortion and voluntary assisted dying within that institution. There was just an outrage from people, and I think there's a similar sentiment towards this kind of policy from the Greens. It's totalitarian, it's an overstep, and people are not happy with it. Many people go into healthcare, be they Christian or even non-Christian people, with the prime motivator of upholding life, offering good health care, and they don't want to be forced and told that they have to participate in the taking of life when it's ethically against their conscience. It's just not okay, and people are reacting strongly against it, and that's a really good thing. We actually, Neil, had 5,000 people at the front of New South Wales Parliament protesting on the ground against this legislation. It took us 7 days to get that sort of support. So we decided 7 days before it, we're going to have a rally, and we got the news out there. We highlighted and exposed the nature of this legislation, and that was the kind of response that we got. So there's clearly sentiment within the community that this is not welcome in New South Wales.
Now, Josh, it's not law yet. That might be the good news here. It's coming up for debate again in May. What are you hoping that listeners to our conversation in New South Wales and the ACT can do today that might actually help the effort to draw attention to this?
I think wherever you are listening in New South Wales, recognise that your voice matters because you're a constituent within a democracy. All of our state members will have a conscience vote on this. It's very important to recognise that both Labor and Liberal will have a conscience vote. So we must account for every state member. They are going to be able to determine what their vote is on the basis of the bill on its merits. So you need to be writing in, you need to be contacting your local member as a member of your community and saying this is not welcome here. A great thing to do if you know nurses, if you know midwives, if you know other healthcare providers, doctors who are convicted about this or have a conscientious objection, encourage them to write into their local member. It has great weight when people are from the healthcare profession and they write in and say, hey, I'm a constituent, I'm a member of your community, and I want you to hear that this is not okay because it's going to impact my ability to perform, to fulfill my role in the healthcare profession effectively and without transgressing my conscience. And we need to really communicate that to our local state members so that they know that there are people in the community that this will affect in a really detrimental way. So please use our website. We've got our email tool up there that will help you craft an email on this specific issue. You can go to where the New South Wales current issues section is on the website. You can find this. It will help you craft an email and you can send that off to your member, raising your concerns and asking for a response from them.
There's a challenge there for New South Wales listeners to take that little bit of advice and to go to the ACL website and do whatever action you can. Hey, let's talk about what is very significant, and I've got to say a special compliment to the ACL because every time there is an election, the website platform resource that you provide for Christian believers just keeps getting better and better every time. And that's the case with the new one, the Australia Votes website. It's dropped last week, and there's a special introduction on there from Michelle Pearce, a little video. So whenever you get onto that website, there's a introduction there from the chief. Let's get into this, Joshua. Just talk us through what the major components of this website will do and what sort of benefit it's going to be for every single person listening right around Australia so far as being able to understand the parties and candidates.
Well, thank you for your compliment first, Neil. We're really pleased with how this resource has come out, and I'm very excited for the utility, the helpfulness of this resource to the church, to Christians, and even just voters right across the spectrum. In terms of what it provides a really non-partisan resource that's informative on a broad range of issues to Christians. As you said, it also provides information about candidates. It provides information about how to maximise your vote in a way that aligns with your values, your convictions, with biblical truth. We even have resources available to churches so they can publicise the resource and make sure that their congregants and the people in their community are aware of what materials are available here. But what I really want to emphasise is that I think people consulting and using this resource prior to the federal election are going to come out the other side, going to the ballot box, feeling very, very informed across a broad range of issues that really matter to them about where their vote will best align with the party that is also going to best align with what they believe and what they want to see for Australia.
Let me just hit you with the question I think that'll be on the lips of every listener. How is this new website really non-partisan? Because some will be saying, isn't this just some way that, someone pulling levers somewhere is trying to get me to vote for a particular way that I might not feel comfortable voting? Give us a little insight here, and it might be an encouragement to some, because I know that policies are the focus rather than parties. None of us want to be told how we should vote. Give us your insight here, Joshua, for listeners who might be doubtful when they go onto this website that somehow or other they're being manipulated. What are your thoughts here?
Well, as Christians and as the Australian Christian Lobby, we have a very high view on conscience and people's right to be able to explore different ideas and come to a determination about what they believe is the best way forward in alignment with their values, with biblical truth and with their faith. So what we've done is, rather than pointing you towards a particular party as the best party, is we've gone and looked at a really broad range. We've got 18 different policy concerns, and then we've treated very objectively the parties' different responses on their merits. So we've gone out with a questionnaire to every single party. We've given them all an equal opportunity to be able to answer questions around those particular policies. We've then brought them back and we've inputted them into a section on our website called Parties and Policies, and we've allowed you to actually go through and do comparison on the different parties' responses and how they've articulated their policy position on that particular issue. We've then also provided a bit of a score and an ACL analysis of how we believe that stacks up with biblical truth and how we believe that aligns with Christian votes. But we've done that in a way that has completely opened up that information to everyone to see all of the different parties' responses on their merits and to read each of those and make their determination as an individual about which one of those parties aligns mostly with their values and the vote that they want to provide. So in this way, it's completely non-partisan in that we haven't withheld any information. We've put it out there for everyone to compare on those issues that really matter, and that's going to inform their vote when they go to the ballot box on May 3rd.
So you can actually find your own electorate when you go on to the australiavotes.org.au website, and you can see what candidates are standing. You can see what their parties have said is the position they have on, you said 18 issues, I think you said. You can see where the parties stand and right down to where the candidates stand. This thought of really drilling down deep and seeing where the candidates stand, this really makes it an amazing resource. Give us some insight here into how that works for candidates.
Yeah, so what we've done is gone out with one question to all candidates as to why they believe they, as a politician or a candidate, appeal to the Christian vote. And we've asked them to touch on a number of really important key issues like religious freedom, the protection of life, care for the vulnerable, to really highlight why a Christian should vote for them. Now, it's worth saying here, Neil, that some of the major parties offer standardised responses, which is really frustrating. They don't allow the actual candidate to respond, particularly to that question. So when it comes to independents and certain other parties that are minor parties, you'll often see quite a variation in response. However, with Labor and Liberal and the Greens, you'll see a standardised response across those different candidates. Now, it's really important to read those because it gives a great indication of those parties' different positions on why they think that they appeal to the Christian vote. However, this is why we've focused so much effort, Neil, this time on comparing party policies, because there's this desire nowadays to withhold their candidates from actually individually expressing their sentiment on different issues that really matter to Christians. So I would encourage people to still go and read their candidate statements for both their Senate candidates as well as their local candidates for the lower house seat. But it's also really important that you consult the policies and parties page. And the final thing I would say on that is also try and get out in the community. Often you'll find, members or candidates who are running will be in the community. They'll be standing standing on train platforms, out the front of grocery stores. They'll be doing candidate forums. Go and have a conversation with them. Pray for discernment. Ask the Lord to give you wisdom as to their character and how they communicate things, and really try and do the due diligence to steward your vote and your concern for the community by getting involved and learning about your candidate in that way as well.
There's also another dimension here, just a quick comment from you, but you're also helping people to maximise their vote, because we don't just vote for a lower house candidate, we're also voting for an upper house candidate, the Senate. That's all very complex, and as we've seen in previous elections, there are people who are vote whisperers, who are able to, you might even say, manipulate the system. You're wanting to expose some of the ways that people might be manipulated and actually maximise their vote. A quick comment from you on that?
Yeah, there's so much we could go into here, Neil, as you'd know, because it's a very complex system. But to keep it very short, I think the most important thing is that people recognise that they need to use their preferences really wisely to maximise the distribution of their vote and the full vote that they have to give. I'd explicitly highlight this when it comes to the Senate ballot paper. You have the option to both vote above and below the line. We're really encouraging people to actually take the time to vote below the line for each individual Senate candidate from the different parties, and to make sure that you put those parties that most align with your vote first, even if they're minor parties. Make sure that you take the time to really go through, and also put right at the end those parties that don't align with your values most, because by actually putting them right at the end, it ensures that your preference and the full value of your vote flows through all of those parties that most align with what is important to you. Right down to the end, you're really making the statement that you don't want that particular party or that particular candidate representing you at a state or local level. So that would be my comment to people today.
And also, you know, we're going to get into all sorts of conversations. Churches will go silent because a lot of churches don't want to be seen to be telling people, you know, who they should vote for in an election. In fact, they won't even talk about the values that are contrary to Christian values that are being put forward by various parties and candidates. But you want to get this website into the hearts and minds of people who can be discerning then about their vote. Resources for churches. Give us a quick rundown here, running out of time, but a quick rundown for what churches can do with this website.
We've got a little section there, says for churches, Neil. What's available there is flyers, digital resources, and a prayer guide for the churches as well. If you go onto that section, you can actually click, we want some flyers there, how to vote for truth flyers that you can disseminate into the community, into the Christian networks locally, and also to your church members. So I would really encourage anyone who's a part of a church or a leader within a church to go onto that website to get some of those flyers so that you can hand them out. There's also the digital resources there for PowerPoints, for newsletters, for bulletins that churches can use to ensure that their community has access to such an important resource for voting. And of course, the federal election prayer guide. We want people praying over the election. We want people submitting and surrendering under God's lordship come this election. And so we've got that guide there just to really outline what you can be praying for and how you can sort of run a prayer meeting together as a church before the federal election.
So you can have a little chat with your pastor. You can try and get some of those resources into the hands of Christian believers, even if your church is not talking about issues around the election and the values and the ethics and all of those things that are so contentious. You can at least get someone to have a look at a resource that might be able to inform them about a Christian ethic and a Christian way of thinking about the values for a community. It's the values that are set in the political arena. Joshua Rowe is the ACL State Director for New South Wales and the ACT. Of course, the ACL website is acl.org.au. If you're wondering, what was that website again? The australiavotes.org.au website. australiavotes.org.au. Joshua Rowe, thank you so much for updating us again today on 2020.
Thanks, Neil.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.